The word private islands came from us.
What a beautiful one.
20 million clients like Bill Gates. Johnny Depp bought an island. As you know, Robinson Crusoe, that is his original gun.
About 3 years ago, I had a client who wanted to buy not only a passport, but an island as well. At that time, I did not have a clue that such a business existed at all, or how it worked. This idea intrigued me, and I decided to investigate. 3 years have passed, and today I'm talking to the owner of a company he created 50 years ago. He is still the only one in the market. In fact, he created the market.
My business is a sale of privately owned islands around the world. I started it, the first island I sold was 1971. Put all the photos I gathered and the map together and sent it around in Hamburg here to people from whom I knew from the paper, so that they are pretty rich. And then one guy called and said, look, I'm interested, but I buy the island with 2 friends. Because I thought if I have my own island, then I have my own peace. Sovereign I have is the Mother Nature. And I have to subordinate the Mother Nature, and then I'm a happy man. I read books about Robinson Crusoe and treasure hunt and all these things, and that's why I found islands are very special. And then I read somewhere in a paper, I remember someone said he bought an island for 5,000 Deutschmarks. And then I noticed to buy a nice island, you don't need 5,000 Deutschmarks, you need 500,000 or a million or so. I knew that. As you know, Robinson Crusoe, that is his original gun he had on the island when he had been there, 1709. And Daniel Defoe, who has written his life story, called him Robinson Crusoe. That was a made-up name. And the family of Alexander Selkirk is still alive. They live in Scotland. Alan Jardine is his name. He came to me with the gun and said, my mother gave it to you. So that's how we got it. But later on I'm going to give it back to the museum in Edinburgh. That should be there. We don't sell government islands, only privately owned islands. Government would not sell. And I didn't know, and nobody knew really where islands are, which are their own publicly or private. But I found the industry very interesting and very novel. Nobody knew about it. The industry, this is just rather new. When we started it, basically we created it. And I claim also that, remember, the word private islands came from us at that time, because that name was not known. And I double-checked that also. If you go to old dictionaries and look for private islands, you don't find that name, nowhere. But after 1970, when we started at 75, 76, then you see the name private islands. It could have been also individual islands or whatever name, but that name came from us. And the industry, there was not an industry, we created a market. I wouldn't call it industry, but a market for privately owned islands, right? The client is not only a guy who has much money and so on, because I say today, if you can afford a car, you can afford an island. A middle-class car costs you 50,000 euros. And for 50,000 euros I can sell you an island in Canada, in Finland also. So you don't need to be super rich. So I had to go here to shops and get maps and look. The islands are not shown on every map. If you get marine charts, because for the ships every rock is noticed so they don't crash the ships. So that's why I went also to look at marine charts. I rented a plane with a pilot, of course, and I flew along the coastline and looked at islands with houses, because I noticed if there's a house on this island, must be privately used. If there's no house or a lighthouse, it's definitely perhaps government. Got that island, I went to the island, and this man said, who owned that island in France, yes, I'm happy to sell. I was good luck, and then I sold that island, and that we did sell 2,560 islands, and that was 2014. And so by now it's in excess of 3,000.
I'd like to buy an island for myself. When I get home, I'll contact Mr. Vladi again and ask him to prepare a list of offers. I have a good idea of what I want. Also buy land to build a house in Antigua, for example. But an island is something special. What would it be like? I want to find out.
Let's imagine that I would like to buy an island. Qualify me.
First of all, I will ask you always, if you say you want to buy an island, I try to find out which area, what kind of preferences you have geographically.
I like Caribbean.
Caribbean. Then next, of course, I have to ask you somehow, what is your budget? I can't be too nosy, but I need a classification. 50,000 to 200, or 200 to 2 million, 20 million, 100 million, where's you just get an idea, but you understand what I mean? Otherwise,
what is a good option I have there? So what is the price?
It depends. Then the third question should come first is, what is your intention? You want to build a hotel? You want to have a place with your family? You just want to be with a tent on your island? What is your intention? What do you feel? What do you want?
I want to have some Wi-Fi free location and spend some time with my family there.
Yeah.
And to build maybe some single house there.
Right.
And invite my friend.
Then I can say that if you go to the Caribbean Sea in general, if you buy a freehold island, you should have available between $500,000 until $1.5 million. That's, for example, an island in Panama. The value is approximately, with beach, very nice, $250,000, $300,000, $350 perhaps.
Does it have beach?
A small beach here, if it's at high tide, and let's take photo taken at low tide. There are some islands over here, which we know.
There.
Yeah. Oh, you go there. Yeah.
Because
there's Sandy Key, an island which I know quite well, which was
on
sale?
No,
they're not on sale now. But
we can go there and make a film.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
I really enjoyed my conversation with Mr. Vladi. We have chosen an island that more or less fits my criteria, and now I want to fly there and see on my own how much I like or dislike it. I don't know, but Vladi said that
if I go with someone on an island, I let him go always from the boat on the island on his own. He should get the feeling.
Now we're leaving for Grenada to explore it in person. It really is a paradise. Even at a distance, it is clear that this island is amazing.
Do you have some options on West Indies?
I show you another of British Virgin Islands, beautiful island by the way. That I can tell you, this island has been very strongly developed. Can you see here with the photos and with the houses and so on. And it was owned by an Englishman, and he had it 20 years, 25 years, and then he sold it now. Something like 40 million. It's a resort. It is more than just a privately owned island. So these were the first maps at all, like in 1554.
There is no Australia?
No Australia at that time, no, and thought New Zealand as part of the South Pole. These are the oldest maps in the world, but there was one before, for example, a guy, Waldseemüller, from the same area where Mr. Münster lives, a few years before. And Waldseemüller did a map with a guy, America Vespucci. He did a good description. Then he had America like a banana, and he has put his name America because his first name, and that is how America was born. Because of that one guy who talked about old maps and so on, in America. There was one map done with these names, and it was sold, I think, 5 years ago by way of auction. And the American government bought it because it's like a birth certificate for the Americans. It's now in Washington, I think, somewhere, for $10 million, the most expensive map ever.
So they have some building already?
Yes, an old building.
And you were there by your own?
Yes.
Yeah, that is it.
I'm excited. I'm on the beach, and from here, I'll go to the islands. There are 3 islands in total, and all of them are private. The island that I will inspect is located beyond the mountain. It is called Sandy Island. This place is very cool. It seems to me that it's 3 or 4 kilometers to the island, and to the nearest island about 200 meters. For some reason, I feel like it's walking distance away.
I have in the Bahamas in those areas for 12 million, 10 million. British Virgin Islands is a bit expensive. Richard Branson owns an island, and then the founders of some internet companies owns an island there. Prices went up a little bit. But if you go to the Grenadine, in those areas you find for $2 million an island, but nothing for 10,000 or for 100,000. These times are over.
So we can find something about $2 million on West Indies.
$2 million, yeah. And then you have also great islands. For example, there's a beautiful island called Île Quatre in Grenadine, St. Vincent, which is on the market. It's on the market for 45 million.
I can recognize, what is it?
Japan.
It's quite close.
And you should not forget, it is not too bad. These people did not have a satellite, no drones, no flights, no nothing, and still did a map just with a boat. And then we have the New World here. This is now 10, 15 years later, where they have discovered a bit more of North America, Cuba. You can see, quite interesting, South America and Japan there.
There is West Indies as well.
The West Indies as well, yeah, here you can see. Antigua, Dominica. Okay. That's why I love this, it's like my hobby, and enjoy very much old maps. The next step, say now you decide on this island or that island, then I would say you want to be sure that you can build a house, because you mentioned that. So we go to a lawyer. The lawyer's writing a contract, and in the contract there will be always a due diligence period for 30, 60, 90 days. It needs to be discussed with the vendor. Then you have the island under contract for, call it 90 days. In these 90 days you can do whatever you want with the island legally. Check the title, check the question, can you build? You go to an architect, you get the certificate, or you find out you can't build anything because it's a bird sanctuary, as an example. You have 90 days time to cancel the deal again, but you can check. In 90 days you have to be committal to the vendor. You have to say, I checked everything, I'm happy with the island, I will close in 30, 60, 90 days, whatever. You can negotiate that.
But before that, maybe I need to go there and see.
Sure, you have 90 days time, and then you have a contract. And
only after contract?
You can go anytime there and check out, or you can go before you do the contract, but then the risk is that you are there and the person has sold the island to someone else. So very often what I do is, if you are my client, I call the owner, I said, look, the gentleman is coming now, give me a reservation for the island for 2 weeks, so he can look at it, and if you like it, you can buy it, and your trip was not in vain. That is very important. And very often it happens. They write me back and say, for Mr. X, the island is reserved until such a date. And then you look at the island.
Can I go tomorrow and check some island?
Yep, you can go. Pardon?
Without any contract?
Without any contract, you can go, sure. Then the owner would like, I need to say that who's coming and so on, so that he knows. And 1 day is always very short, but I say a week, it's enough, a week before. And then we can look at certain islands. We have islands which we sold, like famous ones like La Thala, the owner of Red Bull. Johnny Depp bought an island in the Bahamas.
He's your client?
Yeah, he has not built anything on the island. I spoke to his sister and I wanted to him actually to build also so we can rent his house. But he comes with a yacht to the island and there's a wharf. He puts the island there near the beach, the boat, and then he sleeps and enjoys and eats and whatever on the boat, and then enjoys the island, right, as his domicile. But then if his holiday is finished, he goes away with his boat and the island is untouched, so to say, no house, no nothing. That's also interesting because he doesn't need a caretaker, he doesn't need to look after a house, he doesn't need anything. No maintenance cost, no nothing. Yeah, in the rental market, We had clients like Bill Gates even renting an island in the Seychelles, but we didn't know that he's renting it. It was a lawyer calling us. He wanted to rent an island for 2 weeks, and we did everything. And then always if we rent an island, we call the manager and ask him, is the client happy with the island? Because I want to know if there's a problem. I want to know now and not after the time. Because if it's now, I can correct the problem.
It's incredible to imagine that this island could be yours instead of visiting a resort in a hotel, that all this territory around here belongs to you. You could do anything, invite friends over, build a house. It's amazing. For the first time, I feel like I'm choosing this place for myself. I used to visit uninhabited islands, but I never felt I could build something there, that I could own an island. Now for the first time, I see that it's possible to buy an island for myself, to build a house here, the exact one I want. It's completely different to building a house somewhere in a crowded place on the coast. Now I understand why Mr. Vladi said that before buying an island, you definitely have to go and see how comfortable you feel there. And it's probably necessary to visit several islands. What I liked about this island is that it has a large sandy beach and a turquoise lagoon. However, it's located on the ocean, not facing the Caribbean, and consequently, there are big waves. But from one side, they are big and crash on the rocks, and from the other, perfect flat water. The island is hilly, so you can build a house on a hill and enjoy watching the sun rise and set.
You walk the island like this one and you spot the point where you think a house is very nice.
I'm now checking out various locations where a house could be built. There are already some old stone buildings here, but no one lives in them.
You should go a little bit elevated, perhaps not far from the beach up here, and then you look over the beach into the water, which is very nice.
The house faces a bay with turquoise water, and there are very big waves on the other side of the island. And here it is flat, not deep, and the water is very beautiful. By the way, Mr. Vladi said that it would be 10 to 15% more expensive to build a house on an island because all the parts are assembled on the mainland and then delivered to the island.
In many countries you have prefab homes. Prefab means the parts are all prefab. You put all the house together on a platform and take the platform by helicopter and drop it on the island. So it is not a big deal, not a big difference. And then people come and they put it together, so you have to pay for the transport. But if you build a castle, it's a different thing.
Yeah, sure.
Look, I tell you one thing, it's very important. If I go with a family, I know exactly what the wife is saying. A man always thinks he's immortal, he never dies, he doesn't care. The wife, the first thing says, oh, Mr. Vladi, where is the next hospital?
Yeah, sure.
So she is careful, and then I know the question comes. And I know if I say, oh, the next hospital, you need about 2 days to go there, no one is going to buy the island. You can fall, you have problem and you need quick, and then if in 2 days you might be dead already. So people are careful, and I say I have to prove the people that in 90 minutes they are in the hospital or at a doctor's place. Yeah.
I came here on a small, ordinary wooden boat. It took about 10 minutes. If you had your own boat, I believe you could reach the mainland in 5 minutes. You could also easily build a marina because it's shallow here.
There are some people, they ask me, how can I make money with the island? The wife, they ask about beauty, they ask about the island, hospital. If we build a house, what can you do there? What about the fish? Is it dangerous if we go swimming? Do we have sandflies? And all these questions which are normal, which comes up and which needs to be discussed. For example, in the Bahamas, you have many beaches with sandflies. It looks good. That's why I say you have to go on an island. You see a picture with nice white sandy beaches, you think this is paradise. Go on the island. Some islands like here, you don't have a problem, but in some islands there are sandflies, and then you have to watch that. So you have to get sprayed if you go on the island. There's so many things which is different from country to country, and that's why I'm so happy my island in New Zealand, and the islands in New Zealand are no biting insects, so that's very important. The men is asking, how can we make money? Is that a good investment? What happens if I sell in 10 years? Is there a problem? Because it's money, and they have worked for the money, and they want to make sure the island is safe. What happens in some countries, they ask me about expropriation. Is that a risk that islands will become expropriated? And then I say, you have to get an insurance. You can get insurance against expropriation. Forsyth.
It's your one.
Yeah, that's my island, yeah. Then here we have the Seychelles, French Polynesia, Fijis.
You can scale your business maybe on the moon, no? Do they have an island? No?
Norman Island I did sell one time in the British Virgin Islands. So we have got old correspondence. Find some stuff here. 1998 I did sell the island.
So it was 12,000 islands.
The entire year.
In these boxes, there are 12,000 files of different islands around the world. The files include architectural documents, photos, documents for the land. All the information is here.
Pacific, Belize, America, South America. These are all our slides, which you can see up there, the yellow. Today we don't have it anymore, we have digital. And then what you see filed here is all our public relation material. So newspapers and magazines writing about us, we file over there. What we have done in this book is organize the islands according to classification. For example, we show islands with castles, islands to rent, islands with lighthouses, with airstrips. Also, this is actually very interesting. It shows the different kind of islands. People want to know an island, want to have an island with an own airstrip. Islands with charming residences, or islands owned by celebrities. The atolls mean islands with resorts, treasure islands. This is funny here, treasure, I should tell you something. Then the largest islands in the world, the smallest islands. Then islands in river and lakes, and self-sufficient islands. Self-sufficient islands is interesting. These are islands where you can be on. I can drop you there tomorrow, and you don't need anyone in the world anymore. You are self-sufficient on the island. So we guarantee you have enough to eat, to drink, fish, vegetables, fruits, everything is there. Yeah, everything is there. So we gave you a few examples there.
Sandy Island and two other islands next to it, Green Island and Sugarloaf. One of them is for sale and the other, smaller island, is for rent. A house has already been built there. And to the left, there are another dozen islands. Some of them are also for sale. And this is only one location near the island of Grenada. There is a staggering number of locations globally where islands are being sold.
Treasure islands, the one I showed you just now, this Oka Island, you remember, not Coco Island in Panama. This island I had to sell for $250,000, and I was in a fair in Berlin. And I showed them big sign for this island, 250,000 you can buy this island. Then a gentleman came to me and said, look, you're not selling this island for $250,000. I said, yes. And he said, no, this is worth 1 billion. I said, what? He said, yes, because there's a treasure on this island. He knows, he said, I know there's a treasure on the island. And this treasure is worth $1 billion. Why do you sell this for 250? I said, look, you give me 250, you buy this island, and then you can go for your treasure. He said he has not the money. But anyway, what I did is we had a nice conversation, then I started to check it out. And there's Panama, and next door is Costa Rica, and in the middle there's a border in the ocean. On one side, the Panamanian side is called Isla Coco, this one. On the other side is also Isla Coco in Costa Rica. And there they thought on the Costa Rican island there's a treasure. And they had 40 explorations. No one found the treasure. So that's why they started to believe there's a mistake. It must be Isla Coco in Panama, not on the other side. So that's why they thought this is the island with the treasure. So I sold this island to a lady lawyer in London, and I said, perhaps you want to look after and see whether there's a treasure. And she said, it is so exciting not to know whether there is a treasure or not. It is just the feeling there might be a treasure for 1 billion. It's a nice feeling going over the island. But that's the story on treasure islands, and there are so many. I've seen that so many times that people say, oh, Mr. Vladi, there could be a treasure. But I have never mentioned that before selling. Only after the sale I said there's a rumor, because otherwise it looks too cheap if I say there's $1 billion treasure, please give me 250,000. Ireland has a speciality which you can only compare with the art market, because if I buy a condominium, right, I go by meters and by...
It's a market.
Market, yeah, and meters and compare what has been sold. But in the art gallery, for example, if you have a painting from Van Gogh, you cannot say square foot and then the amount of paint, and the amount of paint, that's why the price is so much. You can't do that, because you have to be concentrating on demand supply, but also the appearance. So people love Van Gogh, people love, that's why they buy for one painting for much more than something else. Island's the same thing. If I love an island because of the elevations, because of the vegetation, because of the beach, because of the access, because of the legal permit to build, because not too far from the mainland. On the mainland I have also property with a boat and so on. Everything is perfect. I pay more. The vendor says he wants so and so much, and then the purchaser comes and he agrees or not. And very many times, unfortunately today, prices are mentioned very high but never realized. So we are looking and make notification of the island prices which have been realized. My business is out network, and we are based in Germany. We have a lot of German-speaking clients, Americans, French people, Europeans. We have clients, perhaps 2 or 3 from your areas, and but not much, smaller islands and so on.
I hope you found this video helpful. Feel free to ask any questions in the comments and subscribe to our channel.